think the Charlie Stare emote for the holidays was the best. The holidays. Ow! Welcome, Club Cult. Good evening and happy Friday. He pulls out of purgatories. Oh my god, my hands are cold. Jump scaring myself. Jeez. Jeez Louise. Burr. Alright, we're gonna hop into the Discord for a minute and then. I guess I'm saying than. Like, then, like than. I'm annoying myself with it. Do you guys ever do that where you oversay something and then all of a sudden just one day it gives you the ick? I've reached that point. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting point to reach. I forgot the chat dog. There we go. Beautiful. Everything is where it needs to be. The world is calm and happy and quiet. Right? Yes. Even if it's not, it is. I will it to be. Discord, what are you? Welcome, Layla. Welcome, Solar. You guys hop into the Discord. Please do not forget to green check them, their rules. This fun thing over here, so that I can reel you in offline and add you to the official Club Cult Disky Boo. What is this checkpoint thing? Look back on your 2025 Discord. I don't know what it's gonna show. I'm gonna look back at it. There's a Discord wrapped. Oh, it makes sounds. That's so weird. Be quiet. Okay. Oh, there's an arrow. That's pretty cool. I was in the top 19.34% of messages sent on Discord. I actually feel like I monopolize my Discord, so that's interesting. I wouldn't have expected that stat. GG's, Clip Gold. You be posting. Here's our favorite emotes. And the green check. It's beautiful. March was our chattiest month on Discord. What did we do in March? Was March Game of Thrones stuff? Either it was or I did giveaways, but that might have been last year. 2024 and 2025 have mushed together in my head. I spent 2 hours in voice chat. Rarely use voice chat. Oh, what's it showing next? Aww! That's cute. Shows who you interact with the most. Gotta share that. It's cool. Oh, it's like a spinny thing. A video. That's neat. It's very schnifty. Played one game this year. These were your favorite. What? Why? Wizard 101 is connected to Discord? Does it say when I'm playing it? I used to have my Spotify connected to it, but I disconnected it. I don't remember why. I didn't know. I didn't know. Well, that's so weird. That it had that connected to it. This is my checkpoint deco. I get an origami. Does that mean it changes like my profile picture? I have backup in that profile picture. I could have a way better picture for Discord and I don't use now. Sure, why not? Expires January 15th. Is that for claim or is that for, like, in general it'll be gone? That's cool. Aw. That's schnifty. Ah! Are we fixing the floor clip quilt? I realized earlier that we never did the weather stripping for the door, and now I think it's a little too late because it's cold and I don't want to have the door open to do it because I'm a lazy bastard. And it's cold. It's cold. I forgot about this. I wanted this. I am bemused. It wasn't that one though. It was... Is it the gray cat? No. Not a bot, you can trust me. Which one was it? One of the gray cats giving the finger. That one. That one is beautiful and glorious. And Ask This Old House. I love Ask This Old House. I love this old house. There's another favorite growing up. In consecutivity with the Antiques Roadshow timeline.
That we wound up with a chip in the floor and a squishy floorboard.
Oh yeah.
Squishy.
Well, looks like you got someone tried to patch this area right here. I got a silly question. Would you happen to have that chip?
We do.
You do?
I don't have the chip.
Wow.
We weren't sure what to do with it and hoping to be able to fix the floor at some point.
Well, let's see how it fits. Ooh, look at that. Oh, that's nice. I can glue that right in there, and I'll show you how to do that. And
Nice.
we can fix that, but it'll be a little different way. Let me get some tools, and we can get started.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Now, before I glue the chip back in, I want to refasten
I feel like
this
he's looked the
floor
same my
back
whole life.
down to the subfloor. So I'm
Immortal.
gonna try to
Eternal.
do this without seeing
Light
the
doesn't need to be
fastener.
on.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a drill, and I'm going to drill a hole right through the chipped out piece, and then drive a screw in there.
Where's for the other part?
Now we're going to use a polyurethane glue, and it's opened up a little bit here and really opened up here. So what I did is I looked at your boards, and I cut out a section that has a tight grain to it right here. So when I look at that grain, it's similar to the grain right here. If I turn the board over, this is an open grain, and that patch will really stand out. Now when I stain this, it's not going to stain exactly the same. It never does. So what I'm going to do is I want to cut our Dutchman out of this piece right here. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tongue off and true up this
I wonder if I would want to do a new piece of wood or just try and cut it off of one of the matching boards for the floor.
So I've straightened out that edge with my plane. Now I want to make the strip about 1 inch to 1.25 inches wide.
You guys have me invested
So
in this
I roll
project
that,
now.
make a straight line.
It's literally been like this for 12 years. Better late than never.
Okay, so now I've got a rough cut there. I want to true that up with my plane. Now that's better. Now what I want to do is I want to try to make it thinner. So
I don't think this will be hard to do. My dad has a little wood shop.
Make it thinner.
Little wood shop. His wood shop is probably the size of this room. At least up to the point of the desk.
That might be the best thing I see all day.
Really? Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to true this up. See how it's uneven? So I'm going to put a straight edge on this side, straight line to follow here, and the same thing on the other side. Like that. Now I'm going to take my
I trust
plane
his process,
and
but I
make
feel like
the
this
board
isn't going to work, but I know it is. They're going to post the video if it doesn't work. Just collect the wood shavings
Alright,
and
I've
glue
cut
them
my
in.
Dutchman to rough size, width, thickness, and squared one end.
Okay, that's impressive.
Okay, so the next thing I wanna do is I wanna get a length for my Dutchman. So I look at the damaged section of the floor and see about how far it goes. I'm gonna go just a little bit further, and I'm
Computer,
gonna mark the
you're mad.
length.
So you measure that first,
Stop being
you don't
mad.
measure the floor?
Nope, I'm gonna cut the patch to size. Once I cut the patch to size, I'll lay it on the floor, over the damaged section, trace it, and mortise out the floor.
Okay.
Lightly score it.
Be functional, computer. Love me. Love me.
Cut my length also, mark that.
She just wants to be a hot girl tonight.
I'm gonna need to remove this section of the floor down almost the thickness of this piece. Now I can chisel it all out, but what I'm gonna do first to save a little time is I'm actually gonna use a Forstner bit, which actually leaves a flat bottom at the bottom.
That's a choice.
Alright, so the mortise is cut.
Okay.
Now that it's cut, I wanna see if my piece fits in it. I'm just gonna go in like this, cause that's how I cut it. Now that fits tight. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna plane just a little bit off of one edge, cause I want it to slide into that
This is
opening.
gonna be
Okay.
such a
So I wanna
precision
pitch it
project. I
slightly
kind of
to
like that.
bevel it so that when it goes in the hole,
like precision
it'll be
work.
loose at the bottom but tight.
But it
at the
often
top.
doesn't turn out precise the first time you do it. That's okay. We'll just have to break more boards and practice first.
Look at that, that's incredible.
It's pretty good.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Alright, now before I glue it, I wanna take it out, put some stain on it, because if I get glue on top of the surface here, the stain won't
Calm
take.
down.
Okay.
So I
Calm
can take
down.
the piece out. Alright, when you have soft wood like this pine, it's always good to use a pre-stainer, so that way the stain will be more balanced when it's on top of the surface. Alright, it's been about 5 minutes, and now we'll wipe on some stain. Wipe it on, put it on a little bit heavy. And we'll just let that sit on there for a few minutes. See if I leave a little bit of it with the texture of the rag, you actually put a little bit of the
Nice.
grain.
Oh, that looks great.
Okay. And
Hi,
I just wanna
Zeke.
get the sides
You wanna come up for just a
and the
minute?
bottom of the raw wood all
Hello.
covered. Alright, so we've got all the
You
raw
wanted
wood
lap
covered
earlier.
with
Do you want
glue,
lap now?
and now we're
Meow.
gonna set our Dutchman
Meow meow.
in the mortise.
Hello. What'd you think about that, buddy? Oh, that's your happy
Push it in,
place.
make it flush.
Oh, that would be so nice.
That looks great.
Thanks. Now we'll take a damp rag and wipe off the excess glue. Alright, Manny, your patch is in and
Looks
it's all
good.
stained. What do you think?
It's
Honestly.
absolutely
Could we
incredible.
do that,
If I didn't know
Zeke?
it was there, it would have to look really hard to find it.
I
Well,
think
that's
we
good
could
then.
do it.
Alright, that's all we can do today.
Okay?
Now what has to happen, the stain has to dry overnight. Next thing I want you
Don't
to do
step
is
on it.
tape around the border of it with some painter's tape and then put about 2 or 3 coats of poly on it. Remove the tape and it should blend right in.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Woo! It's genius. We can do that. Maybe. We'll find out. We shall see. We shall see. Alright, Z. I'm going with the BBs. Actually, we're gonna go in with Void first so I can make sure that I have the right order of operations down from my book. Oh, my phone does not have a lot of battery. My phone is horrible at taking a charge lately. Or maybe it's just not on the charger long enough to charge up. I honestly don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You're so cute. Okay. Did that please you? Did that make you happy? Yes. Such a cozy guy. We get the tripod, buddy. We do. We do. We needs. We have a needs for needs. Yes. Happy boy. Uppy zuppy. Uppy zuppy. Okay. You get down, so awkward. So awkward. Awkward little cutie 3.14 like your mama. That's what him do best. Oh, I'm gonna trip and die over this blanket cord. That's not safe. Call OSHA. That's not correct. Hold on. Tank test. Tank test. Tank test. Welcome to Mad Topher. Am I early or are you late? Neither / both. Time is a construct. It does not actually exist. I'm technically late Mondays and Fridays, generally. Because I have my other stream that I plan for at 9 on those days. So I'll see you guys a little bit later on Fridays. I'm a DGen. And Mondays. Whenever I have my shit together and actually stick to my routine anyway. You're just on time in the right place for the right... Oh. I didn't know I could make it... Why would it talk back to me of what I'm saying? What? This is not my live stream. This is just my Go camera. The voices! See, why didn't that happen for Harley's stream yesterday? Come on now. I do not approve. Philosophical Serena tonight? Maybe. It's been a very... I overuse this word lately. A very humbling day with a lot of introspection. Which is a long phrase for I cried a lot today. But that's okay. I'm only human. And we're gonna lose audio. And then hopefully get it back. Yes. Yes. That's been an interesting day. I clipped my hair up in like duress. Not in duress, but just in stress. I think I like it. I think I'm gonna leave it. Might take it down later. Ziki, do you have any philosophical thoughts to share? We can see you for once. Bless you. He says, that's what I think about that. Okay. Mom wants a couple more sips of coffee and then we are on the go. Baby time. I feel like I stand like a tired 5 a.m. like work dad when I drink my coffee. I don't know how else to explain this stance. There's nothing remarkable about it, but I don't think it's average. It's just a slow, peaceful moment. And it's not 5 a.m. Chapstick. Chapstick. Just a pawn in the game of life. Aren't we all, though? Life is PlayStation. It's their world. We just play in it. That's my play moment. Bless you. Why are you so sneezy? I just realized your nose is almost healed. Nice. It looks good. There's like no owie in it anymore. The skin is just growing back. Is that the song or are you coughing? You're fine. I'm just insane. Smooch on the boys for a minute. And then get on the go. On the go to the kitchen boys. Tiki, I love you. I love you. I love you, boy. I love you, boy. Got there, I gotta pick your nose. I wish I had the camera in front of him for that. His big old tongue left out for his nose picking. So I picked his nose while he was going. Why whiny? Say, 'cause love me. 'Cause love me. 'Cause all you've been doing is loving on the kittens. I know, but they're babies and they're sick. So he did. He predicted it even out of alphabetical order. Because we're from G to V to Z. But we went backwards. We went from Z to V to G. Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, M, N, L, K, J, H, G, E, D, C, B, A. I think I missed a couple letters in there. I used to be able to know the alphabet backwards. Sobriety test pet order. I actually did memorize it backwards in case I did have to take a sobriety test. My face is still swollen over here. Like, I don't have contour on. It's weird. It has to be like sinuses. You don't have sinuses down here on your cheek, do you? If I push on enough, it goes back to normal. Then, I don't know, move your face around. Like, it goes, that's so weird. I'm over it, but it's weird. It's weird. Sprite. I think I missed a few letters in the alphabet, but that's okay. That's my she doesn't party trick. I love you, boys. You behave yourselves. I'm gonna stop in with Minnie Mom. I feel so bad. Void came to greet me at the door earlier, but I didn't know it, and I opened the door into her. So I'm gonna open it slower this time. Bad mom moves. Oh, she's laying on the pillows. Now we're blue, ba-da-ba-dee, ba-da-ba-die. Void! I love you, mamas. How you doing? You can just turn on the big light here. Miss Lady Ma'am. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Not creeping on the neighbors. How you doing, pretty? We gotta look at the books and see how we gotta do this here. Yes. The good dinosaur. The good mamas. I smooched her on the head without thinking earlier, and she didn't get mad. Or she didn't get scared, which was good. I was proud. I was a proud Serena. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. You are such a happy girl. She looks so just grateful. It's probably hard to see her eyes, but she has grateful eyes. Little void rue. Make the happy faces. Little smooch. Okay, I'm sorry. That was too much. I flew too close to the sun. Flew too close to the sun. Okay. Okay, boss. And it's the great big book of everything, with everything, and fuck you, light. Oh, that annoyed me so bad yesterday. Like, that actually made me mad. Today it's just mildly annoying. She does look happy. She's like, this my bed, this my comfy, this my life. I used to sleep under bushes and now I sleep in between pillows. See, very cute. Or in between the mattress and the mirror. Either that's a good hiding spot or the mirror feels good because it's cool. Okay, I haven't done arm notes in a while. I've always wanted to get a mischief managed and like a scroll on my wrist to kind of. I have like this whole idea for like a whole kind of Harry Potter themed sleeve, but then now it's all weird and controversial, and I don't know if I feel like I like that anymore. Um, and just the entire like I've grown. I don't know if I like the design idea, but I'd still like to put the mischief managed scroll, like the Mordor's map, on my wrist for my little notes, the notes that I take in life. All right, let's see, because we're all on weird timing for meds because Daisy and Nibbler have a fever as of today. They had to go in for fluids earlier, so they get their meds when. And do their wet food. Hi. Stripes. 12. Nib at 2. And then Daisy also at 2. And then tomorrow I'll try and bump it back by like an hour so that Daisy and Nibbler get theirs at 1 and then they'll get their PM meds at midnight. Is that everything for everyone? There has been so much happenings today. Munster went to the doctor today. He got his steroids today. We're gonna try those. See if they make an improvement. The babies went in for fluids. It was a lot. You got their temperatures taken, the poor little peanuts. Oh, look at me, I showered and shaved. I can cross that off the list. And I'm here, so that gets a check mark. Woohoo! Okay, that should be everything for everyone. I always think my list is more complicated in my head than it actually is on paper. It's way less complicated than I thought it would be. Stripes gets meds at midnight, and the other 2 get meds when I finish stream. No, I got meds, and then we feed the babies. No, I don't want 5. I want 2. Numbnut. It's my fault. I didn't open the top of it all the way, and it's just all crunchy. You skip shaving your legs some days? Oh, absolutely. I shave once a week. I have sensitive skin, so like really horribly sensitive skin. I get razor burn so easily. And thankfully my hair doesn't grow very fast. I'm not very hairy. So I just shave once a week. Because if I do it every day or even every other day or even every 3 days, I risk horrible, ugly razor burn. And it's uncomfortable, like anywhere. I don't like it. I only shave once a week. That's it. That's the gold standard for Serena. Mm. I used to be all fanciful and shave my legs every day, but that's what socks are for. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Regular showers every day. Wash, scrub, body, exfoliate, clean behind your ears, all that good stuff. Sometimes put some conditioner in my hair. And then full everything shower once a week. Hair, shave, extra exfoliation, extra moisturizer. All of the stupid girl stuff. I just refuse to take longer than like a 5 to 7 minute shower on a daily basis because I have more important things to do with my time. Age of babies. What about you, Void? Do you shave your legs every day? Or some days? Or most days? Or all the days? Or none of the days? How about you? Mad Topher? You skip shaving some days? Don't always shave your legs? Oh God, I wanted to see No Country for Old Men, and I never have. You want some coffee? It's over there. Make a new pot every week, whether it needs it or not. I mean, I'd say every week I'd probably need it. Get a little scruffy, you know. But I'm not fucking with that more than once a week. One, it's gonna hurt my skin and look ugly, and two, it's just not worth the time. It's just not. I feel like it's less embarrassing to have a little bit of fluffle than to be like stabbing dots of blood on your skin. One is a little bit less embarrassing than the other. Back when I was still figuring out what razors are best and like make my skin the happiest, I had a photo shoot and I shaved everything with new razors for it. And I had the worst razor burn of my life. And they were mostly all nude photos. It's actually a beautiful photo set. I think it's incredibly like, I don't know, like old Hollywood, like gorgeous, tasteful, even though it's all lewdy nudie. But there was so much editing that had to be done. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He did edit out every bit of razor burn, and now it's a beautiful set. But I was so ashamed. It was so embarrassing. Like, I have to make so much more work for you. I'm sorry. I'll tip extra. Hi, tiny little mighty beans. Hi, tiny little mighty beans. Thank you for the follow and the razor burn support. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is whatever you want it to be, baby. As a choose your own adventure, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. The babies want to say hi. I do want to say hi. Stripe says hello from afar. Daisy is all up in here. Yeah, it was really bad. It was really bad. It was really, really, really bad. Like, I cannot describe the extent of how bad that razor burn was. It was terrible. It was terrible. But the pictures turned out so smooth and nice, and I appreciate that. See, like, editing and retouching has its place for things like that. But, I don't know. Sometimes I love a good Snapchat filter, but otherwise, everything should just stay the way it is. Hi. Here, show everyone your purr. You have such a big purr, Nibbler. She stops purring when I pick her up and shove her in the camera. She says, my purr is for me and only me. It is special. It is special. Little nibbly new. Nibbler's getting more snuggly every day. Her and Daisy snuggled me earlier. I took a nap. We did. We took a nap. We did. I'm burpy tonight. She says, ew, coffee burps. That's nasty. Nasty. When is my next photo shoot? I don't have one planned right now with anyone. Probably around convention time next year. So, like spring of next year, I'll end up planning more. I self-shoot more than anything. I don't know how many, but less than 20 professional shoots. And then probably at least 50 self-shot, if not more. Hi. Hi. I like self-shooting. The only difference is like the camera quality, and you can get some really cool angles from someone else shooting. Like, it would be very difficult. I've found ways to do it, but it's a pain in the ass, and I'm afraid of things falling on my face, like way overhead shots like that. Like, you can't do that and still have your hands down here. Doesn't work too well. I don't have anything planned right now, though. There's nothing on the calendar, shoot-wise. Hi. Inevitably, there will be at convention time, though. Hi, Daisy. There's two photographers that I see every year that I really like to work with. One of them I met a couple years ago, and then one of them I met my first Exotica. And his girlfriend does a dog rescue. but he's allergic to dogs, so they live separately. But he's always so sweet with Pippi. Every year I get professional pictures of Pippi, and it's the coolest thing ever. That makes me so happy. It's a baby. How dumb butts taste. How dumb butts taste. Are you snuggling with Minnie, Mom? I'm snuggling with Minnie, Mom. Start scheduling them as Exotica approaches. Hi. You're so cute. You're so cute. I'm very... That was an interesting sound, little Snortle. I'm very picky with who I work with photographer-wise, though. I've had some... Not, like, bad, like, trauma, but, like, less than stellar experiences that I wouldn't want to repeat. So I'm very, very picky with who I work with. I think that's why I like self-shooting the most. I'm a control freak. Most everything in my life comes down to that I'm a control freak. Pibby sessions are sweet. Oh, I have the phone streaming on here. Does my belly button smell good? What did I just do? I didn't mean to do that. Oh, okay. When we get back to the stream room. Don't chew on my belly button ring. That's weird. I'll try and find some of the Pippi Pro pictures. It's very cute. It makes me happy. Eat the baby bee. The baby bee. It doesn't matter if I'm at like an adult convention or a cosplay convention. Pippi always gets the most attention, and I like it that way. I prefer it that way. She's a good social buffer. Now we just gotta train Ringo to be able to be good for all of that. I'm excited for him to start school. He starts school December 17th. That's gonna be cool. But he won't be too cool for school. He gonna learn. He gonna learn. Alright, are you ready for Hungries? My vet suggested today that I get them started on Benefiber. So I have that coming from Amazon overnight. Ringo's more of a social nuke right now. Yeah. Even when he's like trained fully, if he can be like an emotional support dog, not like Pippi. Pippi's a service dog, but just emotional support dog. Probably wait until he's about like 4 or 5, so he has some mental maturity along with his training before I start taking him out in public for big scenarios and shebangs like that. I take him to car shows and whatnot for practice, but indoor events, he poops like a horse. We gotta train on that. It's one thing if Pippi craps her diaper. That's no problem. That's a cute little baby. It's another thing if Ringo has a horse shit on the floor. We can't do that. We can't do that. Welcome, Cyogenics. The vest duty sort of training. That's what I'm hoping to associate it with, too. Because he's outgrowing his harness now. So when we finish training, I'm going to buy him a new one and start that as the association for his work harness. And then when it warms up again and we're doing more walks, I'm going to run him through drills like I run Diesel through drills, but Diesel's drills are just so he doesn't run away and the word of the night, nuke himself. Daisy, stop. She's trying to eat my belly button ring. You're trying to eat it. I thought she was just sniffing my belly button at first. So, like, that's interesting. It smells like, I don't know, summer nights or whatever my shit, tranquil nights is what my body wash smells like right now. Whatever that's made of. But no, she wants to eat the gem. She wants the opal. Daisy is a woman with expensive taste. Not really, though. I don't think opals are very expensive. But I do want to make that association to, like, there's work time and there's potty time. So then it would be, like, one walk where he walks normal, and then another walk after that to where he's wearing his vest, and then we don't do potties during that. And then it's just repetition from there. He does look very tactical with his harness. He looks very cool. Looks like a cool dog. Looks like a cool dog. Do you want to look like a cool dog? Hi. Nibbler says hello. Oh, good girl. Good girl. Good girl. I gotta see what's going on here. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, it's not quite what I thought it was. It's more formed, solid, but more liquidy than it looked like at first. Daisy, that's my drawstring. Oh, we were so close. You kids. You kids. Said best duty, not duty. No, I said duty. And same diff though. Backpack cat. Daisy elevator has arrived. Are you controlling chat? The kittens tweeted earlier. I think they stepped on the auto suggest for words because they tweeted the word B, like just BE. And I saw it later when I opened my Twitter. And the only time I had my phone like sploon out on the floor was in here with them. So I think it was them. I don't think it was me. And you know, I don't get it, but they also have a point. Just be. Just be. But you're trying to get to my belly button ring from around Honey Mama. Daisy is on a mission. Yeah, it is a philosophical day. That's a good call to Matt Topher. Very deep. Just be kitten, be whatever you need to be, whatever you want to be, whatever you desire to be. Just be. It was cute. It was better than like just let her mush mash. What are you doing? Oh my god, Daisy. You gotta make some choices here, gal pal. I feel like Tina and Bob's Burgers twerking right now. I think you're supposed to do that with your back, but I'm afraid of flipping Daisy off. Kitten words wisdom. Kitten bee. Hey, come on, girlfriend. That was dramatic. Dramatic. Oh, okay. The twins are waiting for food. Okay, let's eat. Let's eat. Bon appetit. Let's eat. Ah. 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 It just sounded dramatic. You'd pull off a Tina cosplay, but can't do the voice. Can you do the voice? That's the challenge. No, I can't. Can't. It'd be interesting though. It'd be very interesting. I do have like the glasses for it, however. Good point on that one. Are you ready for Hungries? Say yes, the fuck we are. Okay. I shall bring it to you. I shall bring it to you. Okay. Today was so overwhelming, and I'm like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not overwhelmed, but like calm due to just how insane. Like I just can't physically or mentally freak out anymore. It's not like burnt out, but it's just it's been so much that there cannot be any more with today for how I feel. And I'm finally calm, and I'm cold because of it. I think I've been temperate all day because I've been so high strung. I'm finally calm, and it's chilly. It's chilly. Louise is hilarious. She's one of my favorite characters. Oh my god. She's she was in The Girl Who Does Your Voice. She was in parts of it's not Dark Shadows. What We Do in the Shadows. She's been in a few other things, and she did the voice for one of my favorite cartoons, Gravity Falls. She did the little sister's voice, Mabel, and it's just she's so cute. I love her voice. It makes me happy to hear her. It's a sense of like familiarity. Emotionally spent, yes. I think that's a good way of phrasing it. I do not know her name at all, and I feel so bad for that because she's so wonderful and prevalent and prominent, but I cannot figure out what her name is for the life of me. That's my fork. What are you doing? With the fork? What the fork? What the fork? Okay, are you ready for chaos? Y'all ready for this? Slurp, slurp, glurp, 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 glurp. Bebas! 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 Las Vegas! Hold on. Hold on. No, I gotta smush it. I gotta smush it. You gotta make it to have 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 it. Okay. I lifted these up earlier today, first thing, and I dropped one of them on the floor. I just spilled it. I spilled it sideways. Like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. There we go. There we go. Come on. Come on. Food. 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 The claw. The food. How's the scale been with the bee buzz? It's been awesome. Daisy actually likes to sleep on it, like a little weirdo. But it's wonderful. So they can. It's really cool actually. Let me see if I can kind of give an example. Otherwise, I'll scoop up one of the beebs. It collects a balanced average. So if they're back and forth on it, it somehow balances what the proper number is. I think it matched up with what was at my vet's office today. Let me see. Why is it in kilograms? Grams. So I'm tapping around there and it came out to 1524 grams, which is apparently how much my finger tapping and smacking weighs. Which I really like. I appreciate that. It's a nice feature. It's a good scale. It's supposed to like connect to an app and you're supposed to do other things with it, but I'm just using it for the scale and it's just fine. It's like the I Love Lucy chocolate factory. It is. But I'm not eating babies. Not eating babies. Daisy is pushy. Pushy. No, she's done. She wants what she wants, and then the twins clean up the scraps. It is good to see them have a really good appetite. I'm glad. They do share plates. Usually when one drinks out of the water bowl too, they all start doing it. Because when they're drinking, they make the same sound as when they were nursing, like. And then they all come running like, oh, is there a titty over there? Does it measure their head size like it advertised? I think you need to use the app for that, and I still don't understand how it would do that, but I'm not worried about it. After they're adopted, remind me and we'll put my head on it and see if it actually works. They're already Pavloved. They are. They are. They know the sound of the can opening, too. What you doing, Miss Daisy? You're very cute. You're very cute. You're running a fever today, darling. 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 I'm gonna put their can back in the fridge, and I'm gonna grab the receipts from earlier so I can file them away properly. Hi, babies. I'm gonna check your scruffies to see how hydrated you are too. Boop. I was just looking at the price, and it actually wasn't that bad to do fluids today. Each of them were $45 for fluids, which would be way more expensive if we had to go to emergency for that. Probably double, so $90 plus the $180 emergency fee. But hopefully we won't have to do fluids Sunday through Tuesday. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping. Oh my goodness. Stripes had a fever. When did they go in? The day before yesterday? Her fever is down today. She's back to normal. Let's see. She's down to 102.8. And then as of today, Nibbler is running a slight fever of 102.9. And Daisy is too of 102.9. So I guess Nibbler or Stripes is still running a fever. Let me correct myself on that. She is still running a fever, but it's lower than it was the other day. It was, I think, 103.5 the other day. I can't remember what the exact healthy temperature for a cat is, but it's somewhere around 101. So they're like a degree over. They're passing around a bug, or my guess about the antibodies still holds true. I would imagine it's probably both. I'm a little bit awake enough, I think, to discuss a bit about the beans and some of the stream of the dreams going forward. Let me get these filed away and collect my thoughts with. But I would venture to guess it's a combination of the two, and we'll find out within 5 to 7 business days from yesterday what is going on bug-wise, and probably removing mom and not having extra breast milk antibodies didn't help. A perfect storm, if you will. Let's get these away. I don't want to dox my vet. Okay, nibblies. Nibblies, nibblies. Daisies, daisies. And stripes. All the papers, all the books. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer too. I am crazy, all for the love of you. Yeah, da 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 da. Let me get a sip of caffeine real quick before I dive into my thoughts here. Hi. Okay, my beans. Tiny big talks, and then gotta clean some tiny litter boxes. So, children, gather round for story time. Gather round for story time. Story time. Story time. Story time. Kind of. They decimated their dinner, which is good. Glad they did. They did very good with that. They like the probiotic. I think the extra flavor from that, they like, I don't know what it would taste like, but it smells like it has flavor to it. Little crazy twins up here. Wild childs. Daisy's just licking her ass behind you guys. That's what she's doing. That's what she's doing. So, I I think the day before Thanksgiving I made the executive decision to pull everyone from the foster program. And I would like to preface all of this by saying Nas is wonderful. They do amazing things. They do the best they can with what they've got, and I am proud to support them. I'm proud to have known them, have had the time that I shared and learned with them, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for the services they offer to the community, the space that they offer for animals that need homes, looking for homes, need rescue pulls, anything of the sort. I have nothing but love and respect for them. My own hang up, and I think I kind of triggered myself on my birthday watching the Patches vlog um, with what happened with her. That's my own hang up and issue. And that's the number one reason that I pulled them all, is because I would like my vet to be the one to spay them, just because of what I went through with Patches. Which is not to say that any spay and neuter clinic is bad for any reason if it's low cost. There's different ways to do this where when pets go under anesthesia, and I'm not a vet, so I may not be explaining this properly. I'm only going off of how my vet has explained it to me in layman's terms. So there's the box method, where they're sedated, like in kind of like a box per se, and then monitored from there. And then there's a way to do it intravenously that's generally off of their weight. And sometimes there's extra monitoring from there, like their um, vitals, heart rate, like more than just the average monitoring. And sometimes there's just simple monitoring to make sure that they're breathing and okay. So there's kind of three different ways that can be done. A comprehensive doctor can do it capably. Comprehensive veterinarian can do it any of the three ways flawlessly. There's just different markers of levels of how things can be tracked. Um, and because of my experience and my paranoia and my anxiety, I would be most comfortable with my vet doing it, because I don't think I could forgive myself if I had another Patches situation. Not saying that would happen at all, but there's different ways to do things, and none of them are wrong. All of them are right. Spay and neuter your pets. But if you ever have any concerns, it's always okay to ask whoever you are trusting to spay your babies or neuter your babies what their methods are for it, because I didn't know years ago. I learned after I had a traumatic situation, and now I'm very careful to ask what the methodology of doing things is. The way my vet does it, they monitor everything to every highest degree, like as if you were a human in the hospital. And that's pretty much simply impossible based on cost to do at Humane Society or a low cost spay and neuter clinic, because their main goal is to spay and neuter as many pets safely as possible so that there's less pet overpopulation and pet overpopulation crisis. And we don't have a bunch of these little beans, like this one chewing on my pants over here. You're stuck in my pants. Looking for homes. So by all means, please spay and neuter your pets. By all means, do not feel worry or concern or negative feelings towards a low cost spay and neuter clinic. If you ever have any concerns, it's okay to ask. You're more than welcome to stay in the waiting room for any of those procedures. I simply made this choice because I am insane, and we know that about me. And thankfully, they're very understanding about that, and all is well in the way of the world. But they are all under my name now, and I will be propagating their adoptions going forward. I didn't want it to seem like there was any negative vibes with any of it. And truly, I want to say that I respect and love Nas for everything that they do, and they're wonderful. They helped these guys so much. They were willing to take us on. They got Zeke into my life. I am so grateful to them, and I have nothing but good things to say about them. I will always want to support them. But my own paranoia got the better of me for that one, which insane, yes, but also fair considering what I've experienced before. And I think that's my spiel. But I didn't want to dump that on November because I didn't want it to seem like I was begrudgingly donating or like it was a lost cause, or I don't know. I felt weird about saying anything about it before then, but I made the choice. I think it was the day before Thanksgiving, and we got it all sorted out. Club Cult will lick their asses in solidarity, I think. I would like to see you guys try. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. Welcome to the crazy zoo. It's a pleasure to have you. Welcome, welcome. It is a choose your own adventure. Thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. Welcome, Grumpy Palace. I know, they are so cute. They are so cute. They are so cute. So to circle back to, I don't know, a good 20 minutes ago, I'm a control freak. And can we tell? Yeah. 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 It's not that I didn't trust them to do things right. It's that I didn't trust myself to trust that everything would be okay because I'm either cuckoo bananas or traumatized or both. I love Nas. They're wonderful. I will always recommend them as somewhere to adopt from and to support, and I want to continue to support them. There is no ill will there, but the babies are all in my care now, and I'm grateful for the help that they provided. But I will say that besides my craziness and trauma, they did get sick, like GI issues, or the schnufflies, every time they had an appointment there, which they have so much volume and intake and around that it's impossible to keep everything perfectly sanitized. And kittens are susceptible because they're young and their immune systems haven't developed yet, but I know the level of standard that my vet keeps things clean, and I don't know what the level of standard is there. Not saying it's a bad standard by any means, but I found it very challenging and scary that they weren't feeling well each time they went in, because this started up for you Saturday, Stripes, and they had their 12-week appointment on Tuesday. It's hard to stop bugs from spreading when there's so many buddies in such a small area. Yeah, and there's so many animal germs that just hang on forever and ever and ever too. Like they've tested negative for Giardia, but Giardia hangs on forever. It's very hard to get rid of. What's the other one? Not parvo. Well, yes, parvo, but that's my belly button. Stop it! Stop with the belly button ring. I've never had my belly button ring pulled on before, and it does not feel right. Now Nibbler's after it. Oh my goodness. What are you doing? C. diff is hard to clean up. Animals can get C. diff. Panluke is really difficult to get rid of. There's much more germs, I think, for animals than people that are hard to get rid of. You are a woman obsessed. See, ooh, shiny. Ah! It feels so weird. Oh my goodness. Hi. And it's not like everyone's crammed together. They do allocate their space as responsibly as I think they can. I mean, looking at their setup, that would be a similar setup to the goal setup that I would want to have one day. But I don't know. Always trust your gut, and the right choice is always the hardest choice. So if it feels easy, you're probably not doing it right. And if you feel uneasy in your tummy and you're not doing anything about it, you should do something about it. That's all it comes down to. That's all it comes down to. The tummy button. Good call on the Coccidia, the Mad Topher. That was their when they were on Metro Diagonal. They had Coccidia, where I wasn't told what their bacterial infection was, and it doesn't say on their adoption papers, but I was told that there was cocci in the fecal test or whatever, so I would assume that would mean coccidia. The heck is the sudden fixation with the belly button ring? I know, I don't understand it. Although, I mean, when was the last time that I wore a crop top or like a bikini around them? Probably not much. I folded over these shorts today because they looked weird because they like connected to my shirt because I'm short. So maybe they've just never seen my belly button ring. Go, Daisy, go. She's so big now that she has to like mountain climb instead of just hop to climb up the couch. I love it. It's hilarious. Oh my goodness. Did Tommy Button. Welcome, Panda. We're doing okay. The zoo's doing okay. And I be crazy and the shittins be shittin'. We do what we do. I hope the day has been kind to you. Stripes the Overlord. I was taking a nap over there earlier, and Stripes was laying on the blanket, like behind my butt. And every time I looked out from under my sleep mask, she was just staring at me. And it was really creepy. It's like, what are you looking at, my demon child? 50 cats! That's wild. It sounds like fun. It is hard to get rid of, and I wonder if it's maybe mutated in some way. I don't know. We'll be able to see on the bigger GI panel that we're running as soon as we get it back. Daisy is jewelry obsessed. She's just a spoiled girl. She's a spoiled girl. She's a fancy lady. She needs like a diamond gold 24 karat collar. They're being so wild right now. The plays. Daisy and Nibbles. Oh, you just stepped on her head. I am short. I'd like to be 6'7", but unfortunately I'm like 5'3" and 3/4. 3/4 matters. That's what my vet was saying, is that there's pretty resistant strains. I mean, I've had C. diff on and off for about 2 years now. So that's a resistant strain. And then my vet was talking about how Giardia used to be so easy to knock out and not anymore. So hopefully we can knock it out with Ringo when the first go here. I don't know. I kind of wonder if, because when I brought them home from appointments, I walk into their room and I let the dogs out after I dump the babies in here. Well, not like dump them in here, but like put them in their room, open up their carrier, make sure they're good, blah, blah, blah. Then I take the big dogs out, and I wonder if Ringo maybe contracted it from my shoes walking around. 1/4 of an inch shorter than average. Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. All this future medicine breeding our super bugs. Yeah. Well, because vancomycin doesn't work for me anymore. Difficet only works for a while for me. And then I have it. So, it's annoying. It's very annoying. It's redonkulous. Hello, darling. Hello. You're very cute. Now we're chewing on zippers. Little bee-buzz. So in terms of the Stream the Dreams project going forward, I think the best thing would be to do is, once we're at the Franch, and this is like a multi-year timeline process, but either convert one of the outbuildings or build another outbuilding and work out everything that I need to with the city and the county for kennel license, business license, etc., and apply for 501c3 status and do all of the legalese and bells and whistlies that I need to do with that, and then we're just gonna be our own rescue. I can't stop being crazy, and it's not that I won't work with or associate with any other rescues. I absolutely want to. I want to continue fostering, but it's not that I think I'm right and everyone else is wrong, and I don't think I can provide any better of care than anyone else can, but I think the level of insanity of caring that I have can be used, it can be harnessed for good. It can be used for good powers. And that's what we're going to use it for. It's for buddies that need homes. We're going to keep doing all of the crazy that we do otherwise, but that's the eventual goal at this point. I'm a thinking. I might have to wait a few more extra years for a pony because of that, because this kind of takes priority in my goal set, but that's okay. That's okay. If I want to see Serena's Sanctuary, yeah, what would we call it? Just thinking of names for that. Like, I won't need to know until I apply for everything, but what would be a good name for it? I don't know. I feel like at that point, though, I would probably have to dox myself and then just stream as my legal name, because for Stripes and Nibbler right now, I'm requiring an NDA, and that's, I think, a little bit insane for the volume of rescue that I would like to do. So I think at that point, I'll just have to dox myself, and it is what it is. New era. New me, but same me. Tiny twin, stop taking Serena's clothes off. She's learning from Voya. That's what it is. Recruiting one meow meow at a time. Take over the world. Yes. I think we can do it. Think as much as you want to, you won't want to put your name on it. Yeah. It feels like cocky to put my name on something, though. But in terms of, like, having website and public transparency, etc., I don't think it's good to be behind a pseudonym for that. Second Life. That reminds me of that game. Second Life Sanctuary or something along those lines. I like that. And what keeps coming to mind is the Last Chance Ranch. But I think that's already a rescue somewhere, because I feel like I've heard that before, because I'm not creative enough to come up with that on my own. It does make it sound more professional not having a person's name on it. Rumpelstiltskinina? Exactly. Shh, don't tell anyone that. Shh, 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 shh. Protect my identity. Let me have some sense of secrecy. We'll come up with something cool, but I don't want to put my name on it. I just think I'll have to start using my legal name for everything. And honestly, it's better branding and not promotion, but social awareness, I guess, to attach a real person to something, versus it probably seems kind of sketch if insert fake name here is running things. It's okay, you guys can still call me Serena. I mostly respond to Serena now anyway. Only time I respond to my name is when my dad yells it. But if I hear it in passing, I don't hear it for a second. I'm well trained. You fill up your wobbles. I did some drinkies. They're drinking good. Oh, let's check their scruffs too. Then I'm gonna clean up their boxies. Oh! I didn't know that wasn't balanced. That was scary. I don't have good depth perception. That was actually terrifying. That was awful. That was awful. There we go. Getting some socials set up with that name too. Get awareness out there. Yes. And then maybe we could even start by setting up a separate Twitch channel or something. I know I thought about that before and kind of went against it, but maybe I would run reruns on that one or something, of just to start the bandwagon of awareness whenever we figure out a name for it. Probably a year leading up to when I can predict that timeline. But I need to put a binder together of all of my ideas and basically do the same thing but 3 times more stuff for when I had my grooming shop, and figure out how it's all going to go together. I'm excited though. I feel like I've been driven and focused on the Stream the Dreams project in general, and obviously rescue. But I haven't known how I've wanted to do it for the rest of my life in a long-term way. And I'm very grateful that I allowed my brain to to go into this crazy dream place that I think I was trying to keep it away from because it's like, oh, you have so much going on and that's so much more stuff. But realistically, it's tangible to work towards in steps, and the bureaucracy is just going to be the most difficult part of it. Nothing about my life will really change. Still gonna be a crazy zoo. Yes, boo. Then you can just put the whole GoFundMe concept out the window. Ninja-like reflexes. Sometimes I do have those. Kitten cam reruns is a good idea. Thank you. I think so. I don't want to copycat anyone that I follow or watch, but I like that Cute Avalanche does that. They're almost always streaming like 24/7, so I can just put it on and have it on for the buddies or for me anytime that I want. It's nice. They have such a cool multicam setup though, that it goes between like scenes and different layouts that it almost doesn't feel like watching a rerun. It's really cool. They do a good job with it. I'm inspired by that. It's very creative. It's very creative. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really cool trajectory in life. It's going to be involved. It's going to be big, although small. But it's going to be, it feels good to work towards that. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I think we can do it. I think we got this. Now I gotta clean some poops and peas. I was so excited that looked more solid. It's so excited. But no. Where's the other thing of baggies? It was open. Did I put it up there? It has to be hidden in the, oh, there it is. It is edited very nicely. Oh, you watched them. I found them when what was Voya going through? Oh, when Voya's liver started failing, and we were trying to get him on a good course of medication. And I had a whole bunch of cat videos and streams up for him, and he really liked that one. And I've enjoyed them very much ever since. If the kitten still test positive for coccidia, I suggest you talk to your vet about Panazaril. Alvin didn't work for mine when she was a kitten, but Panazaril cleared it right up. Ooh, I'm gonna screenshot that. Do I know how to do that on this phone? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. They were on Panicure before, I think. But I'm assuming that's different. What were they on before? Toltrazerol and Panicure. Metrodiazole. Is that? No, that's a different one. There's no name on that. See, like, none of their records say what kind of bacteria. It just says bacteria. Which I guess it doesn't matter, but I'm a need to know currently. I would like to know. It sounds like a Pokemon. A little bit, but I appreciate that. I will talk to him about it when we get results back, if that would be a good one. I just hope it's something easy to treat. I feel so bad that I've gate-kept Stripes and Nibbler from their new home, and I want them to be able to experience it. And I know the joy and magic of having a kitten, and I don't want to take that away from their adopter either, but I'll be damned if I spay them and send them home sick. That's just not happening. That's not good practice. It's not happening. No way, Jose. Wait, do we have a bag? Oh, no, we don't. Okay, I gotta do some stinky stuff. Where's the beans? There's the beans. There's one of the beans anyway. The beans. Hello. Hello, baby girl. Little Miss Stripey Pants. Or Little Miss Nibbler. Your stripes. Stripes. And Daisy. I'm so amazed. I thought I was gonna have to explain earlier who's who, and my vet knows who's who between Stripes and Nibbler. Like what? It's so awesome. They remembered the belly spot instructions. Because Nibbler has this splotch on her belly, like just a few white hairs. You see. She just has a splotch. Just a splotch. Oh wait. This is Nibbler's splotch. The way I'm holding them, I couldn't see their tummies. Nibbler has a splotch. Stripes has a spot. Just looking at the top of their heads. We've got the beans! Got the good beans, Larry! He's got the beans! Are you gonna climb on my butt? What are you doing, girlfriend? You poor little poopy butts. Now you're climbing on my butt. Back, back, back. Back. I'm packed that's loaded up with things and knickknacks too. Anything that you might need, I've got inside for you. Backpack. Backpack. Yay! Serena and Nibbler want to get 2 stripes. How do we get 2 stripes? Do we follow that shiny thing in the sky over there? No, we don't. Do we jump on the chair instead? Maybe we do. I don't know. Or do we look at what's over here and clean this boxy boot and jump on the table with your sisters maybe? I don't know. Backpack. Yeah! Okay, I'm done regressing. I'm over it. Okay. Backpack. You're going sideways. Where you go? There you go. Oh my gosh. You're silly. You're silly, silly Billy. Silly Billy. Hey, your baby boo. That is the Dora song. I don't think I put it together properly. I don't remember what happens when they start looking for the location for things, but oh, you're just playing. I thought you were going. Excited for you to take on the idea of doing your own rescue. Not surprised at all. It takes a lot of commitment, but I think it's perfect for you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think it's also partially out of like 1% spite to commit to the full deal of it. Because like what my dad said about when I was getting sad about separating mom and them, he's like, this isn't for everyone, and you tell me I can't do something, I'll do it to the 100%. There's Swiper and the map stuff. On the map. Oh wait, I think I mixed up the backpack song and the map song. There's a place you gotta go. I'm the one you need to know. I'm the map. I'm the map. There's a place you gotta get. I can get you there, I bet. I'm the map. I'm the map. I'm not surprised that we're not surprised by it, though. I am excited. You're doing drinkies. Okay, we'll do meds in a second. You clip the backpacker. I'm gonna look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame with a cat on my back. It's gonna be hilarious. Thank you. Oh no, watch. That's gonna be like my one clip ever that goes viral and changes the trajectory of everything, and it's gonna be me with the cat on my back, looking like Tina from Bob's Burgers. We'll walk this way. And the babies are all looking at me like, oh my god. Good done, so many Young Frankenstein quotes. I don't know if I've seen Young Frankenstein. What am I thinking of? Oh no, I think the only Frankenstein TV show I've watched, there's a new one out, isn't there? That's like supposedly very good. But I would highly recommend the series Penny Dreadful or Penny Dreadfuls. Like I know the collection of horror stories is called Penny Dreadfuls, but I think the show is Penny Dreadful. The main character girl is one of my favorite actresses. I think she's so beautiful. But the way they intertwine all of the older storylines is very cool. They did a good job with it. Oh, what am I thinking of? I know Young Frankenstein. I love Gene Wilder. I would marry him and do things with him in a heartbeat. He's so beautiful. He is like a peak perfection of man to me. I love him. He is my celebrity crush, like 100%. Oh my god. Where was I going with Young Frankenstein then? Was I mixing up the new Frankenstein and Young Sheldon, maybe? I am ashamed. Penny Dreadful was so good. It's a pretty longish series from what I remember, but it was nice to finish. It got like weird towards the end, like kind of cheesy and dragged out, but what else could they do with it? It's in the eye twinkle I fell victim to it too. I know he did pass, and I'm sad. No, he needs to be reincarnated so I get my perfect husband. I need that in my life. He's just so pretty. Like he's just so I don't know. I don't think he's like conventionally attractive. Like there's just something about him though. He's so beautiful. My goodness. Less competition. All lining up to cry at his grave, bring flowers. What do you do? Well, Mama, are you okay? What did you just do? I don't know what just happened, but we have a food bowl casualty over here. He's just so handsome. Him and the original producers. Oh, hello. Hello. He's so pretty. I love him. You made a mess. And then when food spills, Daisy likes to play with it. She's like, oh, confetti. And it's not confetti. It's not confetti. It's not confetti, Betty Spaghetti. It's not confetti, Betty Spaghetti. I don't know what you did, but you launched into that, sister. There you go. You don't need a hair in your food. No, Daisy, it's not a... Okay. It's a toy if you want it to be a toy. I'm not in charge here. I mean, yes, I am, but... Alright, Stripes, you have to get meds at midnight, and then Daisy and Nibs are at 2. Are you Stripes? No, you're Nibbler. Stripes. I will come to you. I will come to you. A half mil. Stripies! You're gonna knock that over. Stripey, stripey, stripes. Why are you under this? You don't need to be there. I have to give you your meds. Come here. I know. I'm sorry. Okay, good job. Hydration check. We'll do in a minute because you don't like me right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't think it tastes too bad, thankfully. She doesn't get as offended over it as I did with the Metro Diazepam. Hi, honey. Hi. Hydration check. You're good. I might need to go for fluids again tomorrow. If that's the case, I will... What is that? I don't know what that is. if they need it, take them in Sunday to emergency for it. But I'll try calling to see if I can make an appointment on Monday at our secondary / emergency vet for fluids. And then my vet will be open again on Tuesday. You can't be shitting your brains out and stay hydrated. The two are not mutually exclusive. They are not. They are not. Nibbler, scruff check. You gotta turn the other way. You have good bounce back. Daisy, it's hard to tell because she's so fluffy. Come here. She's in a silly mood. Come here, sassy silly. She skulks off like little kid does sometimes, and it's funny. Come here. Hi. There's my girl. Okay, it's okay. You're not in trouble. You don't have the best bounce back, but it's not the end of the world. I'll call first thing in the morning and get them in. You guys are gonna hate that. They got very upset getting put in the carrier and going in today. They got very upset. Very upset. Daisy does have the biggest attitude. She's the most outgoing. Nibbler's kind of getting there, but Stripes is reserved. Welcome, Smoops. How you doing tonight? Happy Friday! Aye, everybody. Daisy is obsessed with my belly button ring. It's causing problems. He's looking up at all of you in awe and wonder and love and magic and amazement. Hello. Hello, darling. Hello, darling. Hello, darling. I'm gonna have to leave you guys in charge with the kittens for a minute. I forgot. Munster is gonna need his steroid at exactly midnight. For the next 4 days. Hi. And I think tomorrow we'll stream just a kitten stream. And then we'll see how crazy life is on Sunday and Monday. For going forward here. Hi. But your poops were on yesterday, so yesterday was a business day. Today is a business day. Saturday might be, I don't know. Then Monday, we won't get results Monday. Tuesday, hopefully by Wednesday, because Wednesday will be 5 days. If not by next Friday, we'll figure out what's going on with everyone's butts. That's going to be expensive to do fluids at emergency then. What did I say it was on the receipt for them? 45 at my vet, so it's probably double that at emergency plus 180 for the Sunday and emergency hours. Watcher, I'm the queen of camera control. Nibbler says, hello, everybody. Nibbler's a little mini mom. She's just, when she's lovey, she's just a quiet little princess. I think she's looking at my drawstring, though. Kimptons are in charge of us. We're pushovers. They dictate my day, I'll be honest. I'll be in the middle of something else with the zoo and they do something weird. I'm like, are you okay? And then I end up spending 10 minutes in here before I go back to whatever I was doing. But they're just babies. How can you say no to that? You can't. It's so funny how they all have different meows and none of them are normal meows. Daisy has like a trilly chirp, and then Nibbler has like a bark, like, and then Stripes is similar, but it's like even more croaky, like. I can't do it, but it's so funny. It makes my day. Okay, go get him. Go get him. Go get him. Let's set the cam up here and give Munster his pill really quick. Oh, he's gonna love this. No, he's not. No, he's not. Alright, here's, I'm gonna shove this under here so we can't really knock it over. Too easy. There we go. There we go. Oh, Daisy's on camera control. Okay, we're perfect. The question is, do I leave stream phone in here so that they can type to you all? Tell you to just be. To just be. It's so funny. You guys tweeted earlier. Did you know that? See, what's that? Is there a bird? X marks the spot? Oh, that's creepy. Hi. I was turned around and there's surprise nibbler. Surprise nibbler. Surprise nibbler. Daisy, the plate is empty. Okay, I'll be right back. Monster all Gucci here. Little man, he's mad for being at the butt today. What do I do to bring you guys with? He's mad. He's a man. Good. You playing with the door. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, so the stupid broken door, like extremely broken. It's been garbage for a long time. Like the actual bedroom door that was in here, I took out because the kittens were chewing on it. I took the hinges off because I want to save those. Do you guys think I guess I kind of ran back upstairs, huh? Deep breath. Deep breath. Do you guys think the doorknob is worth saving? Like taking off? It came with the house. And it kind of jams up. Do you guys think it's worth taking off? Kitty wrestling! WWE. But instead it's KWE. Wait, what does WWE actually stand for? I'm just realizing I don't think it stands for what I've imagined that it stands for. What does WWE stand for? Pretend to call the match, but you don't know any move names. It's just a normal bedroom doorknob with like a hole in it to push the lock out. It's just a regular bedroom one. You had pretty crystal ones. I love when I see those on the older homes subreddit that I follow. They're so beautiful. My godmother has one of the original ones in her house. Her house was built like 1920-ish, on the bathroom, and it doesn't close very well. It doesn't work very well, but it's very beautiful. I'm jelly. That's so cool. World Wrestling Entertainment. Okay, there we go. Kitten Wrestling Entertainment. KWE. Yeah, the F to the E threw me off. Because that's what I was imagining as, but I was like, wait, this is the wrong word. It starts with the wrong letter. Well, that would be neat. That'd be very cool to try and look at. Dude, Antiques Roadshow. Open up a new channel, share all of your cool antique things. That would be fun. Oh, Daisy, you're so cute. That little baby floof. That would be adorable. It's probably not even brass. No, I'm sure it's not. Or at least mine's not. They're very pretty, but they are not very smooth, unfortunately. I would assume it's not worth keeping either, and honestly, I hate uninstalling and installing doorknobs. It's not my favorite thing to do. I often mess up while doing it. And that's okay, that's fair. It just doesn't make sense in my head. But I was gonna throw the door away, and I was like, oh, take the hinges off. And then I got the hinges off, and then I looked at the knob, and I was like, is that worth keeping? Is it? Is it? And I haven't needed to call my dad about anything else since, so I haven't been able to ask him. I did watch the Ash This Old House video that you posted. Thank you for that. I think my dad would be interested in helping with that project, and I think I would like to try it. At least give it some thought. Because he has his little woodwork shop, and that would be fun. I don't feel like it's worth keeping, though. It's not like a perfect brand new door. I don't know, but then, like, are doorknobs expensive now? Things keep getting more expensive. That just... Is it worth it? I don't know. I don't know. I do like the idea of fully repairing it, but we'll see what's best for the height of it. Because I think the chip in the video that you posted is a little bit deeper than the chip that mine has. And I don't know what would be the most mindful move. I don't know, but I feel like a new door you would have bought a knob with it. Actually, no. I bought at least 3 or 4 new doors. I don't think any of them came with the knob. Only this one, and I never installed it, the storm door. I think that's the only one that actually came with the knob for it, and I did my own kind of method with it. But the hollow core doors that I have, at least 3 doors, because I have 2 hollow core doors that I replaced, and I had to buy extra knobs for those, or they weren't included, and the solid oak door for the basement, that thankfully was cheap because it was in the reject pile. There's a scuff on it, so it was way cheaper than it should have been. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought something like that. I had to buy a knob for it extra separate. The door is hollow core, solid. No, the door is hollow core. The back part of it is actually coming apart from it, and that's what the kittens are chewing on. In addition to the part that's like taped and broken in the front, it's a trash hollow core door. If it was solid core, it'd be worth trying to keep up, but then it wouldn't have been really chewable by the kittens in the first place then. Does this old house guys know what they're doing for functional restorations? Uh-oh, the boys are gonna be triggered. They're gonna be triggered. Something's happening. They do though. I like this old house. That was one of the jams along with the Antiques Roadshow timeline. It was nice. No wonder I grew up to like so much DIY. Most new doors don't have knobs or even the holes cut out. If you get a universal swinging door, Like you decide which side you want to put the latches on. It doesn't have the hole cut out. If you get a left hand or whatever the words are, I can't remember at the moment. A left hand swinging one or a right hand swinging one, they've been pre-drilled, at least so far in my experience. Thank you so much, Cygenix. You are wonderful. Thank you for being a part of the Stream of Dreams project. Thank you for being a part of the holidays and for the awesome human that you are. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Doors are sold 3 different ways, I think. Where they're universal, so you chisel out what you want for where the hinges are going to be. Like these biddies, even though this is the wall, not the door. You chisel it out yourself and decide. Or they're bought ready to pre-swing one way or the other. Because the 2 hollow cores that I've bought, this is a lot of thinking right now, had the hinges pre-installed, I believe, but just a hole for the doorknob. And the solid core door, we had to put a chisel out the whatchamawatcha and drill through for the chisel out for the hinges and drill through for the doorknob. I kind of wish I didn't think about it. That's a lot of thinking. That's a lot of remembering. That's a lot of doors. I break doors. Doors get broken. Let's go with that. Not I break doors. Doors get broken. The strikes might be at different heights too. Yeah. I like that with a universal one, you can match it up to where the hinges were prior. It's helpful. Unless it's a new build. It doesn't make any sense. Next year it'll be on the 6th. Keep getting further away from the 4th. Oh. Well, you can't control time. Only what we do with it, you know. That's okay. I'll forgive you. Maybe. Ask the twins. Let the Oracle twins decide. Oh, thank you so much. I think we're all good in here. We're gonna be strict with, I don't know what time it is, 1 a.m. bedtime. We can boop around with the boys for a little bit, and Daisy's all snoozed out in the chair like an old man. Even without the sweater, she has the old man privilege. I love that for her. I do. She's really worn out from today. Baby girl. We got home and she was just squeaking at me and I was scared. Like, did something go wrong? Like, are you okay? She wouldn't stop. She wouldn't leave me alone. She kept mowing at me. I felt bad. The twins coped well, though. They coped well. It was so funny. I met one of my neighbors at the vet's office today, too. I only meet my neighbors when doing cat rescue or when I'm not in my neighborhood. And she was saying that she lives a few houses down from like a street that I don't usually walk with the dogs. I don't know why. I tend to go up and down the streets instead of long ways with them. I don't know why. I just do. I used to go long ways with Loki, and maybe that's like a mental association that like I don't go that way anymore. But anyway, there's a house that I walked by that it's gray and it has a catio on it, and she was describing that house. I'm like, no way, I walk by there every day. She's like, yeah, I'm just down a couple streets that way. Like, no way. Her dog is really sweet. She has a Shih Tzu named Mike. It's a gray and white Shih Tzu. The dog's name is Mike. But he was very sweet. He was a cute little guy. She was so cute in the sweater. I wish she liked it more than I liked it on her. But she needed to wear it because she had her little scritch, but I really wish she would have liked it more. Do not observe the mess. I have 2 carriers out here that I need to disinfect at least one of them. Maybe we should do that while we're out here. And put it somewhere else because right now this is the kind of contamination zone. I don't know. They're chewing on this and then let's go handheld for a moment here. It's not this side. This is where it's like the back of the door is just off. So So we gotta finish unscrewing the hinges and pop those off. But I don't think the doorknob is worth keeping. Like, it's nothing to write home about. It's just a doorknob. I don't know. My inner Polish doesn't know what to do. I'm in a crisis over it. Don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. This is not a keep door anymore, though. It's not. I'm gonna finish taking the hinges off while I think about it. I had partially unscrewed them, and in my head, I had taken them off totally. But in reality, apparently, I did not. But I thought I did. I really did think that I did. But I just unscrewed them a little bit to make sure that they would undo. And I wouldn't have to say, Dad, help me. Use your muscles. Strong man. I should have done top and bottom and then middle. Don't fall and be loud. That's not a workable side pocket, but that is. Merp. Just one. Just one. Could donate to a store or something if you have like that. Oh yeah, we do. Habitat for Humanity thrift stores in Essence. There is one that I've driven by. Hardware also has some value. Should we try to take it apart? I hate doorknobs. I hate them. I think we can do it though. Somehow I cannot stop doing Zmilf and Taskmaster streams, which I guess that's just my life now, and enjoy it while it lasts, Cult. Enjoy it for what it is, where it is, how it is, why it is, when it is. The Zmilf streams must go on. Right now, it's impossible not to. Either I just don't show up at all, or I make you guys take care of the babies with me. So, sorry, baby daddies, you're on duty. Sorry, but not sorry. If you have free will, you don't have to show up if you don't want to. Like, I do appreciate you guys for being here, and I think you're wonderful and amazing. I love you all biddies. But, I mean, there's free will. If you think this is boring, don't show up for it. That's my mentality. For better or for worse, I'll do what I want to do, and if no one likes it, then no one will watch, but I'll still do what I want to do. Wait, doors are heavy. Can I even turn this over here? Oh my god. Jesus. Jesus Louises. This hallway is a fucking nightmare right now. Holy goodness. This old house, zoo edition. This zoo's house. Boring is good for nighttime, so you fall asleep too. Hey, you know what? For once in my life, I'll be a relaxing creature. That's our new goal. That's our new project. I'm being a relaxing creature. I can't do ASMR, but I can put you to sleep with some hardware streams. That is true, Smoop. Similar people flock to you. That's how I see it too. It's like the field of dreams. If you build it, he will come. The birds of a feather flock together. This old zoo. Yeah, we were pretty senior heavy for a while. I'm not gonna lie. Now we just got a lot of bibbits. A lot of youngsters, a lot of youngins. Why are you so long? I hate you. I don't want to deal with you. That's a good point that I could donate it though. Better than just throwing it away. Like, who's gonna take this door and repair it? Like, it's trash. Ah, come back. Come back. I should get a baggie for these so the door pieces stay together. Here, well, that's still hanging. I'm gonna do that. Da. Beebs really bringing down the average. Yeah, they changed the. Oh, what is it called when you get graded and it sucks when someone's really smart in the class? Graded on a curve. We're grading on a curve here. We're gonna bag it up. Bag it up because it's an old dead doorknob. Oh, I feel a sneeze coming on. Will it do what it wants to do? I don't know. We shall see. We shall see. Curve grading was either the best or worst thing to happen. Yes. I loved it in some classes in high school. I hate it in other classes in high school. It was great when we were all stupid. It was bad when there were smart people. You tested really well. Oh, I'm jealous. You get dirty looks from the teacher graded on a curve. Oh, so it's because of you that I failed algebra 2. Just kidding. Oh my god. Do you remember saying some tests in the whole class slacked? Oh. I mean, that's like humanity and solidarity, though. You got to be responsible for your fellow man. It's the trolley equation, but curve grading edition. Hold on, Voya. He's like, Mom, what are you doing out there? You're doing something. You're doing something. What is happening? Is the world falling apart again? No. Everything's fine. So you barely did any homework. Your overall grade was never good. All. I never did anything, so my overall grade was not good. Except for like first half of freshman year I tried. And then my senior year I tried. But I had a horrible GPA when I graduated. It was bad. Trying to remember exactly what it was. It was low. But I got all my credits. Uh, and I'm so grateful for failing math because remedial math was the best math class I ever took. I actually learned important things, amortization tables, loans, interest rates, etc. Like that should have been a required course. And instead, it was given to the stupid kids. And the stupid kids learned the important life schools while everyone else was learning calculus. And sure, maybe calculus will get you a $200K a year salary, but will you know how to balance your checkbook? Or manage your money or your credit cards or get a mortgage? Maybe not. I don't know. It depends on many things. It is a shame how many remedial classes are practical. Like, what the fuck? That was the best math class I ever could have been given. Here's the back knob. I feel like I guess it would be good to have for a backup if not to donate, but it's very used. Not that anything in my life needs to be nice or perfect, but there's already doorknobs at the branch. Like, don't need more fucking doorknobs. Oh, God. In college, none of your peers knew how to save or what to look for in a credit card. No one I really know either. I have so many friends that are still trying to get out of horrible credit card debt or have just recently and are similar to my age, like learned how to consolidate their credit into like less interest, like a bank loan, like one payment a month or whatever for everything, and then budget everything out from there. But it's amazing. I don't know, like granted, my dad worked really hard to teach me budgeting and frugality and being mindful with how you approach anything and put the fear of God in me with interest rates and etc. But I didn't really understand anything like that until the class. But it's makes me feel bad because it's like, bro, you could have just asked me and now you're like 10K in debt or more. I'm sorry. That's stressful. I sympathize. Hold on, Mr. Bean. Hold on, Mr. Bean. But when you're young, it's too easy to make poor choices also. Like, oh, I want this and I want it now. Because there are certainly things that I was financially irresponsible about. Like, why do I need to buy a bunch of Nike or whatever? Because, like, oh, brand name, shiny, never had before. But the novelty of that quickly wore off because it's just like, what's the point? They're just sweats. There's nothing special about it. I'm not making more money because I bought Nike sweatpants. So do I need to buy Nike sweatpants or should I invest into what clothing will actually make me more money? Let's think about it that way. Old Serena, or young Serena rather. Previous stages of Serena. Okay, now the door can go out into the trash. Awesome. Hopefully they'll pick it up. I would think they would. If not, they'll put a sticker on it and then I'll deal with it. I'm gonna grab spray and clean out that other carrier too, just so I can consolidate something else out of this hallway. That will feel good. Until I hit Irl Zoo Nike sponsor. Oh god. Totally different brand, but Ringo would look so cute in Adidas stripes. Like the two white stripes. That would look very cute on him. He'd be very dapper. Addy dog. Adidas actually makes dog merch. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. Where's the spray? Where? Where? Where did I put it? Did I throw it on the chair? I think I did. I vaguely remember doing that. Yep. Adidas has dog clothes that are Addy Dog. ADIDOG. Thinking Ringo and Vans shoes. That would be very cute for him. Very cute. Got the whole cleanup bucket crew over here. Oh god. Okay, so there's all the stuff they're not supposed to jump on right now in the carrier pads. I had a feeling that would do that. They've been going in. This is the carrier I've been sardining them all into. They fit. I mean, it would be nicer to use a little bit of a bigger one, but this one keeps them warmer. It's not too small for them, but this one is gonna stay out. But none of the other zoo can touch it in case of germs, because we don't want that. Where's oh there's you guys. I lost you. Club Gold. Okay. Oh, is this the one that only sprays? Oh no, it's okay. Or only streams. Yeah, it's fine. I love this cleaner. It is the best. Totally zoo safe. Dissolves into a saline solution. Kills 99.9% of viruses and bacteria. It's like the safest not bleach there ever was. We can take this apart. Take it apart. I hear you, Bean. Hold on one sec, babe. Clean up, everybody do your share. Clean up, everybody, everywhere. How do you want me to clean you, metal grate? Guess like that? That's a weird one. Usually I just scrub these in the sink. On the top. Get all the nooks and crannies at the corners. I mean, not changing your world. I'm on my way in. My phone died. I looked up and it was black screen. My phone died. I'm almost done cleaning the. Yeah, my phone is dead right now. Oh, is it going underwatery? My phone isn't good at holding a charge lately, and it's stressing me out. I'm gonna finish cleaning the carrier really quick. Oh, sorry, Zeke. Oopsies. I meant to point with my foot. And then I'll join you all in here. That's embarrassing. Yeah, the phone battery died. Yeah. Oh, my bad. My bad. I didn't realize it got that bad. Oops. Oops! Shit happens. Toilets flush. I will be right back. Just like talking to myself and then I look up. Black screen. That was magnificent. Boys, you ready for cookies in a minute? Oh snap! What is happening?
Time to mess with the boys a little.
Did it just talk? Do I have talk to text enabled? What just happened? Oh my goodness. What is going on here? What is happening, Boya? Door. What just happened? Who's doing things? Who's doing things? Did it talk? Did it say the message? Do I have speech to text enabled? Time to mess with the boys a little. Thanks. Very wonderful. Thank you again so much. That's hilarious. Let's get some cookies. Cookie crisp. Cookies. Cookies. Oh, I can't believe that died. That's shameful. It's embarrassing. Do I have a phone charger in here? Then we're gonna get some snacks. Some snacks. There you go, Z-Man. This way, that way, the other way, every way. This thing, that thing, those things, that things. Everything's, all the things. That's not the right. I don't really care about my phone, but heaven forbid I gotta like run out to emergency or something. I'd prefer it to have battery. I would prefer. Thank you. Woo woo woo. Cheers. I'm gonna count and then get snacks for everybody. Oh, well, that was some fun DIYs while it lasted. It was an attempt. It was an attempt. I did remind myself to get my other battery pack before I started stream, and then I totally forgot. My phone was like on 50% when we started up. Whoopsies. Oopsie daisies, boy, yeah. We gotta write up on the board and make a star. Woo, woo, woo! Thank you! Thank you, thank you. Oops. Blurped that over. Do, 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 do. I guess we don't count as IRL anymore. Cool. You need a star, boy, up neck. You are a shooting star. I love you. No longer IRL, you are imaginary. I have become once more just a figment of pixels. My foot got stuck on the cord. It interrupted my moment. Do some party treats. Everyone likes party treats. Party treats. Party treats. Party treats. Boop, boop. I was gonna fuck with Gunther. His food bowl is about to beep at him. Oh yeah. Can you do Big Bear? Happy? Good boy. He's not nervous about Zeke, but I think he's so not used to eating around him yet like this. He's not too keen on doing his little tricks. Do, do. Do. No, that's Gunther's. That's Gunther's. Ow, you just bit my finger. No, that's enough. That's enough. You got enough snacks. He's a snack fiend. He does get so hyped for snacks. I think the first time we did treats, he didn't care too much. And now he's just like, oh my god, this stuff is good? It's for me? It's delicious? I can have that? What? And he's hype over it. He did come zooming over for snacks. That's what I was hoping as my marker of our 24 hours of chaos are hopefully over. He's doing a lot better today. He's less tense. His ears don't seem to be bothering him as actively as much. So I am relieved and grateful. I appreciate you asking about him. He's doing as good as he can do, I think. No causes for concerns. That was yesterday, Serena. I just feel so bad when his ears are hurting. Like, he's just inconsolable. Everyone else in the zoo I can console when they're not feeling well. But when Gunther's ears are bugging him, he's inconsolable, and it just makes me so sad. Get in my feels. We're gonna make a star. Then write up on the board. You go, Gunther! He's in the litter box. You celebrate that. He's a celebrated pooper. Oh, I feel for you. Did you have to do like tubes in your ears? My dad's long-term girlfriend, her nephew, so her sister's son, I remember had to have that done when we were little. Several times. Why several? Did it not work the first time? Is it not like a guaranteed fix? I guess not if you had to have it several times. I don't know how uncomfortable that is. Feel free to share with the class, but I feel like that's... it makes me nervous to think about that. I'm glad I never had to do it. I don't know if they still recommend that as the best course of treatment, though. I feel like I read something about that recently. It's where they don't do it as often, kind of like taking out your tonsils. They don't really do it anymore. It's a temporary fix while your inner ear grows. Oh, that makes a lot more sense and is a little bit less scary. Seems pretty arcane nowadays, so they must not do it too much anymore. My dad actually advocated and fought for me to not have my tonsils removed when I had chronic laryngitis for like a year and a half, because him and his brothers and everyone else that we know of on my dad's side of the family that has had their tonsils removed, they grew back. My dad's like, this is a waste of money. Don't do it. I never had my tonsils removed. So apparently in my family they grow back. Yeah, I didn't know they could grow back. I learned that a couple years ago. For some reason, the topic came up, and my dad was like, yeah, that's why we never got your tonsils removed when we were told to, because they were going to grow back. So they grew back for me, they grew back for insert brother, they grew back for insert brother, they grew back for grandpa. Apparently in my family, they grow back. I am the only one with extra teeth, though. But maybe that's a mom's side of the family thing. I don't know. Oh, my eye is twitching again. It was twitching earlier. Do you guys get eye twitchy when you're stressed out? Got a star! Thank you, thank you, thank you! We get the markers for the board, and we need some tape. Zeke apparently wants a whole smorgasbord of snacks. Meow! Or he wants lap. I don't know. One of the two. I don't think it's common for them to grow back because I've never heard of it happening with anyone else, but... Oh, maybe that's what it is. I feel like when I'm stressed and having lack of sleep, like it happens at the same time the most. So maybe it would be from lack of sleep and not stress. Hi, I love you. Do you want to help me write on the board? No. You have such big words to share. Oh my goodness. Oh, the green shows up really good. I like it. Do you think these are snack? It's markers. Beautiful. Hello. You with the treat of love. It's the treat of love. The treat of love. They're so pathetic. It does think more snacks are on the menu. Oh no. Oh, maybe they all had them removed properly then. I mean, except for when my grandpa was a kid, they probably all would have gone to the same doctor for it. I wonder. Now I gotta ask. I still think it's so crazy that my grandpa was alive in the time of house calls. And he had his leg broken when he was sledding once in the winter. Right around his birthday, because his birthday is in December. And the doctor came out to the house to fix and set his broken leg. And it was not set right because it was a little wonky. Like, you know how your shin is like straight, like your spine kind of? It was a little bit wiggly. But isn't that crazy? Having a broken leg fixed at your house. Can you imagine that nowadays? There's still house calls, but for the rich. Yeah, that's true, I guess. That's true. Oh, speaking of house calls, I tempted to ask my vet if he would be willing to do that for Munster when the time comes, because Munster hates going in. Like, I feel like that would be such a not fun last ride. I know there are services that do it, but I wonder if my vet would do it. I know he's told me stories about doing it for others, but I feel bad asking for extra. It was a full cast. Well, to my knowledge, it was whatever a full casting that they would do in the 1920s then. He was like 6, and I think my grandpa was born in 1924, so it would have been 1930. So whatever kind of full casting that they did then, I don't know. Let's research. Let's see. Because they were up at their lake house, which was just a trailer on the Kankakee River. Like, not just a trailer, it was nice, but... Not a bra size. I can spell. Would have been something like that? 1930s saw advancements in the treatment of broken legs with widespread use of plaster of Paris casts becoming casts. There's an extra S in there, Serena. Cats. The phrase break a leg also gained popularity during this decade. Oh god. Using either casts or splints. I wonder. Oh. I don't want to think about this. I've never done a severe bone break, and I don't want to. It gives me the jeebies. Yeah. That was what Grandpa had going on, though. Cute little leggy cast. Them old sleds were dangerous. They were, though. They're made out of wood. You hit a chunk of ice, and there's metal on the bottom of it, and the metal is... The metal and wood is what his leg got crushed under, crashing into something, and... it's nuts. 11 out of 10 would not recommend. No thank you. No thank you. Fit to screen. Transform. Move. I feel like I'm forgetting something that I wanted to share. Did I bookmark something that I said, oh, I need to share this with Club Gold? I feel like there was something there. It's like on the tip of my tongue of thought. Phone, are you going to work? I feel like I saw something interesting today that I wanted to share with us. Twitter not gonna fucking load? You can connect. My phone won't connect to Wi-Fi now. Like it's on the Wi-Fi, but it keeps saying 5G. Oh, there it goes. That was weird. It's such a small cord. Oh, there was! I can send it to my perv account so I can pull it up. Not logged into my regular Twitter on here. We're gonna close that out over there. Twatter. You do say that your bones grow back even stronger. Your break goes back even stronger. That would make sense. I mean, it's re-intertwining itself together. Whatever, not scar tissue, but scarage of the bone would probably give it a bit more integrity. If you're, like, young and healthy. If you're older, probably not so much. I thought this looked so neat, especially because I just pulled up this the other day. With the dog playing.
With a special button. One of my abilities on Marvel Royals. Wait.
I wanna watch this
can you
again.
press the button?
This brings me joy.
She Should we go into an actual game? Are you ready? Let's just practice healing. Can you ring the bell?
Yeah, I would be fucked if I broke a bone at this point in my life.
Let's go.
I have osteopenia,
Oh,
I
did you
learned. Which is like the precursor to like osteoporosis or something like that.
Oh,
Basically means my bones fucking suck. Which is probably why I've like re-broken my ribs so many times in such stupid ways of like just coughing hard in my sleep or whatever. But I would be fucked if I broke a bone at this point of time in my life. Like, it's not like brittle bone disease. It's not that terrible, but I don't think I would heal stronger.
oh my goodness, good girl. Oh, she pressed it again. Oh my god, please.
This is awesome.
I can't even
Want to get the boys to do this, and I think I found a way too.
They need some bubbles.
Maybe.
Can you
It's probably
press the button?
expensive.
Oh, good girl, good girl. This is such a special moment.
No, it would not be good.
Oh, good girl, look at you.
It is good to know, though. It was really easy. They just had me do a bone density test.
Oh, she
It was very non-invasive, like simple, took 2 seconds.
Okay,
They're like, hey, you have osteopenia. It's like, okay,
No, I did. Right.
makes sense.
Win this round. And so thanks to you.
About to put you in the bubble suit.
So good.
I think it develops, I don't know why, but I think it develops a lot sooner in life for most women than men.
192 healing.
What does the test entail? I just remember standing on a thing. I don't remember all of it. Let's consult YouTube. When I go in for labs, I'm usually exhausted and I don't remember any of it because I'm operating as a zombie. I just remember standing on something. Not like a scale, but... And they take a little picture of you. Like, it's not... I imagine when they were gonna do it, like, it would be like a spinal tap or something, like stabbing into your bones, but no. It looked like they were laying down in the picture, though. I did a stand-up x-ray, where, like, if you've ever had, like, a chest x-ray or, like, your ribs broken or something like that, you're standing for it, or, like, if you hurt your neck, you're standing for it. And this one, you were standing for it, and they just put the camera in front of your legs, like, right in this area.
Good, I'll take your paperwork there. You can come with me.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes like that in House, and it gives me the...
Alright, so I'll get your
Don't like it.
thing off for your underwear. This gown goes on over your head like a big dress. Just have a seat in your change room and I'll come back and grab you in a little bit. Okay, here. Alright, so we're going to take 2 images today. One on your lower back, one on your left hip. Okay, you're going to be lying on your back. I'm going to place a block under your knees.
I feel like I remember it being on my shin.
And
Maybe
then
not,
when
though.
we take your lower or your left hip image,
Maybe they do
we're
it
gonna
differently
take
for, like,
the
preliminary
left
screening versus, like, big
The
screening.
exam does use a low dose radiation, just enough to get through your bones to detect.
I am probably very radioactive at this point in time in my life.
Arthritis.
Pippi's probably a little radioactive.
Any questions? No?
Whoops. I love having done so many things that I was supposed to wait until I was age 50 to do.
Alright, so I'll get you to swing your leg.
Had my
back, so you
shingles
set your elbow
vaccine.
line in the middle of the table there. Good. Flat down on your back.
Colonoscopies, bone density test. Helps with streaming your own light source, am I?
Let's
find out.
Scanning upwards, okay? So just hold nice and still.
Do I glow? Am I glowing, Club Cult? Oh no, I need more radioactivity. Need more.
Alright, just lift your legs
More.
up and straighten them down on the table. I'm gonna take a picture of your hip now. I'll get you to move your feet apart nice and wide. Good. Just gonna place this block in between your feet.
I remember standing
Turn your
for
legs
this.
in so that your feet are touching the block. Are you okay if I strap your
They're
feet
just
in and help you
fancy.
hold that? Great.
They're so nice to him.
Strap your feet here. We're all done. You can
She
go
has
ahead and
such
sit up.
manners.
Alright, so here, doctor. I'll have a copy of the report in a couple days, okay?
It's not like a complex test, though. I imagine it being very scary and invasive, and it's not. They just take pictures. Just take pictures. But the button. Keyboard brand. No, I don't want to fucking ask Grok to explain this. Like, I can't fucking read. If I can't fucking read, then I shouldn't be on social media. Keyboard brand Vermilio has released a foot keyboard. You can now control in-game actions with your toes. I find that fascinating. With your toes. Being filmed, the nicest. That is true. It seemed very like actory. Too. I think that was like a reenactment, not someone that just like signed a waiver and was like, sure, you can videotape my test. You've had nice nurses. I feel like I've had mostly nice nurses. Probably a good balance, just like in life, of not so great versus great, but pretty good. Only time I had terrible nurses was when I had the situation with Pippi and a procedure being scheduled, and that was a forking nightmare. My next surgery has to be back at that hospital, and I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't trust anyone that doesn't think a dog is okay or gives grief over that, number one. Number two, it rubbed me the wrong way, and I don't want to go back there, but my insurance doesn't accept the hospital the Advocate hospital that I went to my appointment at. So I have to have surgery back at the other hospital. Fuck. Great. I'm going to be freaking the fuck out. They had better have Valium for me. I generally need Valium before surgery because I start to have a panic attack. Like minor or major. I don't know. I start to catastrophize. I start crying. I start thinking about what if I don't wake up to the zoo. And then I have a panic attack. It's great. And then they give me Valium. And then everything's fine. But it's not like I'm still crying, but I'm not panicking. Mechanical keyboard company from China has released a new foot keyboard designed to work with various games. As tech gets fancier, gaming gear keeps getting weirder. Yes, it does. As long I haven't used. Then there's extra keys you can bind however you want. If you're playing a game with a bunch of skills, you can slap on a foot button and free up your hands a little bit. So can I run like 2 computers and 2-player Counter-Strike and get Voya on my team? That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Jeez, now I need Valium. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stress you out. I didn't mean to ruin it all. I didn't mean to. I get anxious, then it gets out of control. I just can't do it. I don't know. Just have to go with it and be brave, but I don't want to. I feel like if you're not gonna advocate for me and by extension my dog, I don't trust you to take care of me. I don't know how to explain that. Like when I meet new doctors, I always bring Pippi with, whether I need to or not. Because I want to see how they react to her. Because I feel like if you don't have empathy, care, love, even if you don't like dogs, if you don't have some sense of empathy or care towards animals in general, you probably have none towards people. Which is great for an objective mindset, but I would prefer someone that cares a little to be working on me. Voya with Team Flash. She's one of those, I'm sure. Are you one of those? He's side-eyeing me and eating his kibble. I was like $50 thanks to a current sale. Left one, the right one, in the middle. I feel like this would probably be the most intuitive way to set up a kitty gaming setup. It should be firm enough that you're not accidentally stepping on anything. You connect up to 5 devices and flip them between a physical switch. It's like a guitar pedal, but for gaming. That's cool. Oh, it's up for pre-order. There's 3 different versions. Computer, are you having shit fit? Thank you. Oh, what was it just called? Keyboard? Foot. This be it?
Today we have an
If it's for pre-order, there might not be any videos about it.
alternative to traditional mechanical switches, and we're not talking about optical switches either. We're talking about electrostatic capacitive switches. Electrostatic capacitive switches offer. So with a light lubrication of Krytox 105,
Lightly
they
lubed.
sound much better, in my opinion. It softens the sound, a switch. I'm not sure what.
It's
the
not what it
coating
is, but it looks
material
like it's
is
gonna be
made
set
out
up
of,
similar
but
to like
the
a
switch is
a
incredibly
stream deck. Let's see. Oh, I guess I could probably tweak this around. And I wonder if... Jesus. Desk. Be clean. Tweak it out for him to be able to have that one together. What did I just knock over? Hate to clean my desk. The babies are gonna stream tomorrow. I have so much I need to catch up on. This week has been one of the most interesting weeks of my life. All I will say is thank fuck for my ADHD being medicated. Otherwise, I probably would have put my head through a wall by now. Thankfully, I've been able to focus. The foot keyboard. It looks neat. I'm not schmancy enough with games to like want it for my own purposes, but I think it would be fun for the zoo. It'll probably be more expensive, but I want it to come out to past pre-order before I go into it though. My computer is throwing a shit fit. Completely and entirely. Oh my god, you're a drama queen. You're a drama queen. You went down the keyboard switch rabbit hole one night, and after too much reading, you figured out the Corsair model you wanted had recently become discontinued. Oh no! Would there be like one on eBay maybe? Or they wouldn't have the continued update software for it, so maybe it would be pointless. That's stinky. Corsair is a good brand too. I wonder if they are gonna revisit it at some point. I like Corsair. That's very nice. That's a fancy keyboard. My keyboard is Logitech, but it's like probably the cheapest that ever was. No aluminum frame on this one, only a Voya frame sometimes. Corsair is so nice. I like Corsair. I'm sorry they stopped it. That's rude of them. Shame. Shame. Caps are pieces of shit, so you had to replace them. Oh, did you do just the basic ones to replace them, or did you make them fancy? Fancy, fancy. None on eBay. I think they had a durability problem with those specific switches. Oh. Maybe they'll revisit it one day. We'll cross fingers and pause. That would be nice. That would be very cool. That is very frustrating when you're looking for something and you do extensive consumer reports research, find the product that you want, and then it is not available, or it is not available in the form that you need it for. It's very agitating. I hesitate to say this because I feel like this is going to open up a whole can of questions and I have to be skedaddling. But I went through all of that with looking for computers, and I did end up buying a computer. So at some point, when there's time to breathe in life, we'll set that one up, and then we'll have a dual setup for a while between the bedroom and in here, which I'm excited for. We'll probably set it up on a mobile stream, because I need to look at this computer to see how I want everything to go on the other computer. But there was a couple that I ran into where I was like, this is perfect! Yes! Oh my god, we're going for it! out of stock. Not sure when we'll be back in stock. But it's Black Friday, bitch! But thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm happy with her. I don't know, I haven't taken her out of the box. She actually arrived a day early. It was supposed to be here the 4th. So, 2 days ago. But it got here on the 3rd. And thankfully, I was cleaning up in the backyard when the delivery guy came. Because I didn't want it to sit out in the snow, obviously. And he, I guess, was knocking for a while. And I went around by the side of the house without knowing someone else was there. And he startled me. And then I realized, oh, delivery guy. And I was like, oh, just let me make your life easier. I'll just come around. So I hopped the fence because there's not a gate there. Probably looked like an idiot. Came around, signed for it. I was like, oh, computer, thank you. Then finished up outside, came around, brought it in inside, and there it's sat since for now 3 whole fucking days. But Black Friday was the day before the babies got sick, so I could not have anticipated this timeline. And it bothers me a little bit. But there's... It doesn't have everything that I want, but it has enough. More than enough that I want. And it has room for expansion if I want more. But it is so much more powerful than my laptop right now. The comparison is there is no comparison. We are going to be zooming through life very soon instead of burning up. Because this computer wants to be a hot girl. Part of the motivation behind it, too, is I actually can't really effectively run my editing software on this computer anymore. The processing power is just not there anymore. And my dad brought up a really good point of when you upgrade to Windows 11, it all depends on, for the availability of the upgrade when it was out before they discontinued 10, it depended on your processing power, and it seems to have... I don't know everything on the ins and outs of guts of things. But Windows 11 kind of skewed the processing power of your machine. And I have noticed that it performs less well, or less good words, I don't know, since upgrading to Windows 11. So I don't think I ever should have done that. I don't know if I would have had a choice at some point, but I think that kind of put the kibosh on this baby. It started the downfall. Does this mean PC games in the future? I think so. I think so. I didn't end up going with 64 gig of RAM. I went with 32 gig of RAM, which computer now has like 8. I didn't know that. And 2 8s, so 16. But this is that, but in 32. So it should be able to run everything we want to. If I wanted to... We would probably have difficulty if I wanted to play like Counter-Strike, stream the babies, play a bunch of music, run 5 programs in the background, and have 20 tabs open. But I think on a basic set it would work out well. But I'm just not really... except for a few select games. I thought about that long and hard, too. Because I was like, either I can go with a different version that I'm not the happiest with, but it has more RAM. Or we can go with this and make it work, and this will be more than enough. And my justification is I don't PC game that much or that heavily. The biggest thing we would fuck with would be like Counter-Strike, or from when a couple of years ago I have an Alan Wake game that I never downloaded that we could play. Game of Thrones was fun for a while. There was that program that I ran that game through. So we could PC game way more efficiently than we can now. I can barely run Wizards now. I never considered that or anything to the logistics behind upgrading to Windows 11, that it would make everything work a little harder. But it makes sense. The computer was built to run Windows 10, and I said, hey, take a bigger operating system, bitch! And it did not like the strap, and slowly it just wants to leave this relationship. Oh my god. Yeah, it will be easier to expand. It will be nice. I'm looking forward to it. I hate setting up things new. I hate fucking with audio. It's gonna be such a bitch and such a like week-long project probably to get my OBS settings from here to exactly how I want it over there. Or I guess the computer's over here, so over here. That's going to be annoying as fuck. And going to be very irritating, but it'll be beautiful after that. And then we'll have 2 stream spots. We can stream in both places whenever we want to. And I can even run a kitty Twitch stream over there and then run a kick stream over here. And that's awesome. I could leave the kittens streaming on here. I could do another stream over there. The possibilities are endless because this one will get cleaned out and thrown into external hard drives, etc. and on here. All of the videos in my backlog of editing will get thrown onto there. Getting all my software set up won't be too hard. I don't actually have too much that lives on my computer. It's mostly files more than software. And I could be more responsible with my files, but OBS is going to be the biggest hurdle to move over. OBS and audio. All of that to sync. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it'll be a challenge, Shadow. Welcome. I hope you're having a good night so far. Welcome, welcome. The last time I had a loaner laptop and I was hoping that I could just take an image of OBS and transfer it over to the loaner laptop. Such a thing did not exist. That was a couple years ago and that may have changed since then, but I don't think I can just essentially like image my shit over for anything. I don't think there's a way to import easily. I wonder if you can now import and export your OBS settings. Oh, it looks like you can now. Maybe. So you can easily import and export your OBS settings, profiles, main app settings like encoding and scene collections, sources, filters, hotkeys, using OBS's built-in menus to back them up and transfer them to a new computer, though you need to manually move media files, images, videos to ensure file paths match the new system for everything to work perfectly. So it'll only be half as much work then. And that makes me happy that that exists now because it didn't before. And let me show you guys something here. Which one is it? When I find it. Where's the sauce? Where's the beans? There. This, my welcome to the club, welcome to the cult, whatever you want it to be, was something that was in Botrix at the dawn of my kick times. And it no longer exists. It is a ghost source. I cannot recreate it. Once it's gone, it's gone. I can't make a different one. I can't edit it. I can't change it. I can't do nothing with it. It's just this beautiful fixture in our lives that is a testament to a simpler time. And I was kind of a little bit sad about not moving it over. But now I know we probably can, which is cool. That's hype. I wonder when that came about, because it looks like 2022. So that would have been just after I would have had the loaner computer. That's funny. That's funny. Trying, but just so you know, if OBS runs out of RAM, they can use CPU. Best way to reset it if you have a decent PC. I have everything set up about as good as it can for my computer right now. I'm just spitballing for setting up the new PC. To either update all the paths or work really hard to keep them relatively the same. I mean, my files aren't crazy. Like, images are in pictures and subset folders. So, I have too many files on my computer, but they're all organized very well, which I'm proud of. Good job, Serena. So that shouldn't be too difficult. I just wasn't looking forward to rebuilding this whole thing. I was not. Once my RAM, not enough. That's why we got a new computer. You have 8 gig times 2 in here. This baby's old. She's like 5 years old. So she'll just be running bare bones. And then if I like doing it for a 2-stream setup, then we'll leave it like that for as long as she'll survive, and then I'll probably just fill it with content. I'll wipe it, fill it with content, and then sell it. I think that's the best route. It's an easy Dropbox access. I think that'll work out nicely. This was such a great laptop for when I bought it, for what my needs were. But my needs have changed, and the world has changed. And that's okay. It's okay. As long as I can get all my videos off of here, and then get them to the new computer, and then edit them, and get them posted. That will make me a happy person. Because trying to run my editing software right now is like gonna blow up my laptop. It's gonna set it on fire. It's scary. It's very scary. Very scary. Very scary. Ah. Ah. It's a sobering reality. Alright, Club Cult. It's bedtime. I brought that ramble upon myself, but it's bedtime now. Just in case the kittens need to go in for fluids again tomorrow, I need to be up at a good time. A good time. Abba-dabba-da. All new editing software uses more and more resources too. Yeah, they do keep adding new bells and whistles to mine. And it's like, can you please stop? I feel like it's a lot of the AI components that they're adding in that we can't necessarily opt out of too. It's like, I don't need that. I don't want that. I don't do that fancy stuff. Aw, good. Good bedtime story time. Yay. Thank you for the well wishes. I appreciate it. Someone's doing something. I hear big sounds. Just Mr. Ringo blurping his bone around. I thought the kittens had knocked something over and it was scary. Using voodoo magic to make the Kimtons healthy. Please. Hopefully when they get the Benefiber tomorrow, that will help solidify them a little bit. And something about that helps their intestines absorb more water too. So that should help with the dehydration as well. I don't know. I can't take fiber things. I have to take the opposite things. So I don't really know the physical effect. And blurp this over. Close that. We don't need that. Oh, we did so much tonight. I'm very proud of us. We took care of the Beebs. We got Stripes her meds. I gotta give Nate, Daisy, and Nibbler their meds at 2. And we took apart the door. I'm very proud of us. And we even cleaned out the carrier, mostly, until my phone died. But then we got my phone on the charger. So hey, we won for tonight. We did good. That's not actually a lot of stuff, but we did good with all of the things we did. We got a lot of quality kitten time. Yeah, Carrie did. Oh my god, I want to see this clip. It's gonna look so stupid. I'm excited to see. I want to see. Thank you again for clipping that. Where are my clips? Oh, the song and everything. Oh, jeez. Can I not drag this over? What? Well, it's not as simple as I thought it was going to be. Kink.com/SerenaTV. The song always reminds me of Dead Mouse. It's a Dead Mouse vibe. see. Oh, I have the tap muted.
Anything that you might need, I've got that. I've got this loaded up with things and knickknacks too.
Wait,
Anything
why
that
is
you
it playing
might need,
twice?
I've got inside for you.
What is happening right now?
Why is it playing twice?
Why? It stayed to pop out on the other window. I am so tired right now. I'm sorry. That was my bad. Now I can see my shame publicly.
Anything that you might need, I've got inside for you.
Looks so stupid.
Yay! Serena and Nibbler want to get 2 stripes. How do we get 2 stripes? Do we follow that shiny thing in the sky?
No, I know the things that I say, but to hear them in third person is
Do we jump on the chair instead?
humbling.
Maybe we do. I don't know. Or do we look at what's over
See, moments
here?
like this make me feel like I should just run a camera 24/7. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. That will make it into whatever vlog that the babies end up having. That is gorgeous, that is wonderful, that is marvelous, and that made my night. Like the Truman Show. Yes. You know, if I wasn't such a grumpy waker-upper, I would 100% do that. But that's my biggest trepidation with doing that, is that I need my me time to become me. And it seems a little stupid to leave a stream running for like a 1 to 3 hour period a couple of times a day with like nothing going on because I need to go be grumpy and drink my coffee when I wake up. Just seems silly. Also, I wake up and I look homeless because I'm a scrub. Some people would probably like the grumps, find them relatable. They're just not my best moments. You know, I'm very grumpy old man moving through the house. They're just not my best moments. I don't know. I don't want someone to judge my character based on the person I am when I wake up in the morning, when coming into my stream for the first time. I'm okay with this judge of character for this version of myself that I'm able to propagate into awakeness and interactivity. That's awesome. That's wonderful. That gives you mostly a good idea of if you think I'm worth fucking with or not. But morning Serena, I don't know. I guess if I did that and someone didn't like it, that's just their loss. But on the other hand, most of the internet is very nosy. So they would probably still come back later and see if she's still grumpy anyway. So you'd probably get a second chance. It's the nice thing about the internet. You get a lot of second chances because people are nosy. It's nice. Appreciate it. Not beating anyone up. Just gotta crack my knuckles. Feels good. Okay. Zoo time. Bedtime. And then tomorrow, the babies will be streaming. Regardless of anything, because I have to catch up on a million things. There's a pile of clothes on the piano. There's a pile of Harley cosplay over here. There's Gunther cans I need to put away. There's a hallway that's all full of things. There's a kitchen that's all full of things. I want to scrub out Munster's room. I want to scrub out the dog room. I want to scrub the kitchen. I want to just scrub everything. And scrub the baby's room. Cower. No, see, I don't want anyone to cower from me. No. Does feel a little bit more doable at this point of time, though, if I did want a 24/7 anything. I appreciate the level of medication to not run around like a chicken with my head cut off anymore and to go in a concise timeline of directions. That's nice. That's a nice change of pace in life. And it's weird because it's kind of like building a new routine. But it's nice. I'm very grateful for it. Good. She's just secretly a teddy bear who needs to crack her knuckles all the time. Oh, the coffee is good tonight. I need to stop sipping on it. I need to stop. It doesn't keep me awake, but it makes my heart racy when I'm trying to fall asleep. And then I get anxious when I'm trying to fall asleep and can't fall asleep because I'm like, why is my heart racing? Am I going to die in my sleep? If you guys can only live in my head for like 2 seconds, you would just fuck right out of here. The amount of conclusions that I jump to are astronomical. It's both healthy and not healthy to consider every possibility of everything. It's a teddy bear who's an occasional enforcer for a loan shark. Who's the loan shark? Oh, because I'm cracking my knuckles and being a bouncer. I'm just gonna start showing up to stream like this. Stand at the door. I don't need to flex protection. Just stand like this. Someone hits the follow button. Alright, come on, you can come in. Pass the line, pass the ropes. Alright, you're in.
King_Ru 420 just followed.
That's my new MO. The caffeine mental surge, yes. That was perfect timing with Foya. He knows how to perform. He knows how to act. He knows what to do. He's a professional stream cat. That's gonna be my new spiel. Just gonna stand at the door. I'm gonna do that next time there's some nonsense that occurs. That's how I'm gonna corral the trolling. Alright. You're allowed. You can get in. You can come through. Stop the next. Okay, now it's bedtime. I'm having fits of insanity. I'm not gonna start making duck noises before I stop stream tonight, though. I'm pretty sure. No promises, but I'm pretty sure. Thank you all for a wonderful night. Thank you for your chats. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being your wonderful selves. And thank you for your time more than anything. Your time is very valuable. It is this finite thing that you only get so much of it to do with in life. When you're able to spend it here, it is humbling. It is heartwarming. It is wonderful and magical. Whether it is for 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 hours. I don't see you again for 2 years because life happens. When our times collide, it is beautiful, magical, and amazing. And I appreciate you all. Donald Duck is watching. He's always watching. Oh god. Is that who I'm loan sharking for? Because he's got a bill. Oh, that was way funnier in my head. I don't know if that was actually funny coming out of my mouth. It was funny in my head, though. I'll give myself a tiny little baby. But I'm cha for that one. Wherever the button is. I don't know where the button is. My desk is a mess. There. Mischief says, goth girl. Serena says, sleepy girl. If you guys want to keep up with me offline, hop into the Disky Boo. Otherwise, we got the fun stuff. And we got the socials. Some more fun stuff. Sketch for when I will see you Bebs next. And thank you all for being a part of the Stream the Dreams project. There's Mr. Tink. It ran away in there. My little quick grab. And thank you all for your support with the holidays so far. Ow! I am grateful for you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you! Oh, I forgot to put the Charlie of Judgment. Wait, where's the Charlie of Judgment? Charlie Stare. Charlie Stare. Charlie is always watching. She sees you when you're sleeping. She knows when you're awake. She says, meow. So be good for goodness sakes. Oh, Charlie Bear, Charlie Bear, Charlie Bear. I've been remixing so many of the Christmas songs for the zoo lately. It's been very fun. Chauncey the snowman. Got to share the soundtrack with you all next stream. Get some good sleep tonight. Make good choices. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Get some good eats. Get some good sleeps. Charlie has to pass the crown from Mouthius to Zeke, I think. And they might... They're king and queen. They might share the throne. I think that's more likely a possibility. They both certainly have... What's the word I'm looking for? Projection to their voices. They enunciate clearly. I mean, we gotta give them credit for expressing themselves. Slavka's princess makes sense. I mean, it kind of does now. It all makes sense. She wants the throne, though. That's why she gets grumpy with Charlie. She says, Charlie, just retire already and put me in charge of the country. That's what she wants. Zeke does have such urgency with his meows. It's like, no, no, alarm, meow, no. It's like, it gives me anxiety hearing it. Calm down. You gotta calm down, son. Oh, now he's giving me the side eye. Like, Mom, don't talk about me like that. I can't help it. I was born with that meow. Can't do anything about it. Your meow is perfect, and I love you. You get your point across. You speak very, very delicately and wonderfully. Yes. You have reassured the boss man. Speaking of the boss man, Voya, you've been very polite tonight, but it's the start of Catter Day, so technically you're off work for tonight/today. He's so cute and silly. Club Cult, do me one favor before I see you Bebs next, and that is remember that you are wonderful, amazing, incredible, spectacular, phenomenal, oh so gorgeous, and all the good things in the world. I knew my voice was about to die. So no, I'm still the boss. I'm still the boss. Take all those compliments and put them in your back pocket, your side pocket, your cute little hip pocket, your adorable little shirt pocket, floating in suspended animation, or wherever it needs to go. Until I see you next, you sweet bubbos. Have a beautiful rest of your night. Get some good eats, get some good sleeps, and the babies will see you tomorrow, and I shall see you for the next one. Thank you all for being yous. You are wonderful, amazing humans. And get some good sleep tonight. Nighty night. Say good night, Voya. Sleepy, sleepy. Sleepy, sleepy time. Sleepy, sleepy time. Good night, Club Cult.